Today, you have the opportunity to meet the candidates who have chosen to offer their knowledge, experience, and skills to become our next Lieutenant Governor. On your table, you will find a sheet that lists some of the responsibilities of the Lieutenant Governor and why this position is very, very important. Now, please welcome our candidates in alphabetical order. Kip Holden from East Baton Rouge Parish. Keep your holds and applause till we get to the end of the candidates. Okay. Your applause wasn't timed into the schedule. Albert Gilrery from St. Landry Parish. Gilly Nungesser from St. Bernard Parish. Plaquemine. I'm sorry. Plaquemine Parish. And John Young from Jefferson Parish. Two drawings were held at 11:30 this morning to establish the order for opening remarks and the second for closing statements. Now we'll meet the professional journalists selected whose audience cover all of Louisiana. Jeremy Alford. Okay. Jeff Benefort. Jim Inkster. And Matt Williams. Our timekeeper is Stuart Stewart, who is the Leaders with Vision Secretary. Y'all keep an eye on her time. Okay? Now, thank you. Now, please hold all of your applause until the very end of the program. We will begin with opening statements from the
Good morning, Gene.
Candidate.
Gene, sorry.
Candidate.
May I ask a question, please? Sorry to interrupt. Since Leaders with Vision is all about voter engagement.
Wait a minute. We don't take questions from the audience.
I understand that, so please permit me to ask this question. Since Leaders with Vision is all about voter engagement, you allowed a small startup company to present at last month's luncheon called Friedel. Why are only 3 of the 4 candidates participating in a small local business that promotes political transparency?
Okay, I don't know who you're referring to. We will begin with the opening statements. Thank you. Okay. Albert Gilrery, 1 minute over.
Good morning. Now, can you hear me?
No. You got to talk right into it.
Good morning. I have walked the walk. I've not only talked the talk, but I've walked the walk. If you look at a decade of my voting record, you will see that I have been faithful to the values of Louisiana. I've gotten high marks from the Family Forum, from Louisiana Right to Life, from the NRA, from LWVision. As a matter of fact, this year I'm the only senator in the state of Louisiana to receive an A rating from the Louisiana Business and Industry Association. The Chambers of Commerce from the law enforcement community. High marks. I have walked the walk. I have been faithful to you, Louisianans. Choosing a lieutenant governor is very much like choosing a mechanic. If you want to make your car work, we want to make government work for Louisiana. So you want a mechanic with very good training and very good experience and passion. I have the training, the experience, and the passion. Thank you.
I know I can't say nothing in 1 minute either. Thank you very much. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor because I love this state. I built a business taking an old shipping container, turned it into a living quarters for the offshore, and built that to a company with 20 million in sales and over 200 employees in Louisiana. Me and my wife rode out Katrina and rescued people and animals and didn't see an elected official. So I ran for parish president. 5 hurricanes, 3 that flooded my parish, and 33% of the oil for the whole Gulf Coast came ashore in our parish. We created jobs. We've had a surplus every year I've been parish president. We need elected officials that won't just talk about it, but roll up their sleeves and go to work. Nobody will work harder for Louisiana. You will never be disappointed with my honesty, my effort to do the right thing for this state. And I will get involved in everything physically possible to help this state. Thank you.
Round of applause. John.
My name is John Young. Good morning. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor because I want to be part of a team that helps secure a better and stronger future, not just for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren. I worked as a maritime defense attorney. I've been a small business owner. I've been an assistant district attorney and prosecutor in Jefferson Parish. I've been elected to the Jefferson Parish Council as councilman at large and council chairman. In 2003, re-elected. In 2007. In 2009, I was elected parish president. After a corruption scandal, I came in and with the help of the council, we reformed Jefferson Parish government. I've been through Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Ike, the BP oil spill, and tropical storm, Lee, and Hurricane Isaac. And Billy, I know you said you didn't see any elected officials, but you must not have been in Jefferson Parish because I stayed the entire time and helped the parish recover, not only from the storms of nature and BP oil spill, but for the corruption scandal. And I'm proud to tell you that Jefferson Parish is back better and stronger than ever. We have the highest bond rating in the state and the second largest parish in the state.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I'm Kip Holden, Mayor President of Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish. Basically, if you live here, you've seen the progress we made in Baton Rouge. And I'll tell you some of the numbers. Last year, we were the #1 major market of the year in the parish. The #1 metro area for economic growth potential. The #1 best small city to live and work as a filmmaker. The #7 best city in America for young families, and the #8 best place to live in America, and a top 25 place to retire and grow. What I'll be doing as a Lieutenant Governor is virtually going around to visit every community and let people know about all the crown jewels we have out there that a lot of people don't know about. I'll be marketing, I'll be promoting, and I'll let them know. It's not just big cities. We've got small towns and villages that we need to look out for as well.
Thank you,
and let
Kip.
people know about it. Thank you, ma'am.
Now, the first question comes from Jeff Benford from Shreveport, KTVX.
All right, I'm going to stand so I can see the candidates as I ask the question. Guys, I want to talk about the movie industry a little bit in Louisiana. There was a lot of talk about that going into the last session. One of the spokespeople for Millennium Studios in Shreveport told me if the tax credits for the movie industry in Louisiana are cut by $50 million, we might as well pack up the tents and move out of the state. So we hear a lot about that, and the tax credits are now capped at $180 million, down from $258 million the prior year. So what is the true value of the movie industry in Louisiana, the jobs it creates versus the tax credits that are given to it, and how do you weigh that against all the positive recognition and PR that the movie industry generates for Louisiana across the country? And are those caps likely to go back up? I know there's a lot of points there, but feel free to address as many as you can.
I expect that those points will go back up. The movie industry has been very good for us. Those tax credits have created many jobs. I was on a movie site the other day. There were 175 people, and 2 of them were not Louisiana people. So it's been good for our jobs. Every movie filmed in Louisiana advertises Louisiana. And so that's a double whammy for us. I believe that capping per project is the right way to go, but bringing all of the money down is not a good solution.
Thank you.
It absolutely needs to be changed, and I know they rushed through the session and cut it. It's crippling the industry. You know, it's just like anything. We've got to, you know, when you're spending tax dollars, when you're giving grants, whatever it's for, you should have to get an audited report back to the state every year so you reporters don't have to go digging in to find people misspending money. We've got to have accountability, and I think they use the misspent, the people going to jail for misusing those credits, and use that to turn the public, but we're wasting tax dollars. It's just like any grant we give, if you make it accountable, we'll make sure it's spent the right way, and we'll get that cap lifted.
John?
I am bullish on the film industry in Louisiana. We've grown that industry from scratch. We've grown it organically. We were #1 in film production in the world before the last legislative session. We need to have accountability and transparency. I'm certainly not in favor of subsidizing Tom Cruise's $20 million salary. But I can tell you, people are flocking to West Monroe to see the Duck Dynasty people go to the Duck Dynasty warehouse, Duck Commander warehouse. They're going to Pierre Park to see Troy. I can tell you that I've talked to the DA in Natchitoches Parish, and Natchitoches had a revitalization because of Steel Magnolias, which was filmed 30 years ago. It's a positive for Louisiana, positive for tourism in Louisiana.
Thank you. Kip?
The movie industry is good in light of the time. Basically, if you have two fingers that have problems with them, why cut off the whole wrist? And that's what the legislature did. And so therefore, the auditors already know where the holes are. Make sure you plug those holes. Because the movie industry is working with, we have a buy Baton Rouge, so even they can purchase goods from local vendors. And at the same time, Magnificent Seven just finished shooting. But Jackson, Louisiana, a little small town, 2 service stations on either side of Plank Road. Those 2 service stations made $1 million each. And so we are going out, and the movie industry is spending a lot of money here and giving people jobs who are out there that would have no other way and no place to turn to without it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question comes from Jeremy Alford, and it is a 30-second answer.
Lieutenant Governor Jay Darden had eliminated the secretary's position at CRT. It was the highest paid position at the department, and he has assumed those responsibilities as part of his job description. As the next Lieutenant Governor, would you reinstate the position of CRT secretary, or would you assume those responsibilities like Jay Darden has?
Starting with Bill.
You know, I will look at it and talk to the tourism industry and see if it needs to be there. But I don't think he cut that position, but I think they gave some pay raises in other areas, if I'm not mistaken. But we're going to look at all the staff. There's got to be more communication amongst the departments around the state, and that's what I'm hearing from the tourism people. We've got to communicate better, and if reinstating that position makes that happen, then I'd look at doing that. But I think for me to state what positions are important before I get in office, I have a knack for cutting jobs and saving money, and we'll do it with the best team. Thank you.
John?
I would follow Jay Darden's example. I would act as the Secretary of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism in light of the budget crisis we have, and I would advocate for more money for promoting tourism and making sure we eliminate the pass-throughs and interagency transfers so that we can promote tourism and make sure it's properly funded. Because for every dollar you invest in tourism, you get a $38 return. The Lieutenant Governor's office is a net producer of revenue. It's one of the few state offices in the agency that actually produces more revenue than it costs to operate.
With the gender budget cuts, cultural, recreation, and tourism took a lot of hits in terms of the things that it would do. Yes, I'm going to, not necessarily a secretary, but put the money back in because you already have the people there to work the job, so you don't have to create a new department. And allow those people with the experience already in hand to continue doing the excellent work they have been doing to really promote Louisiana and tell people how great Louisiana is. We have the people in place, we just need to put the money back and make sure that Baton Rouge is at the top of the list when it comes down to movie locations.
As a professional manager, and I've run state agencies across this country, I would take a look at all of the positions and all of the needs of this agency and make a decision. I have not done that yet. I will not do it until after the election has taken place.
Thank you. The next question comes from Matt Williams, and we have a 1-minute answer time.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here. We all know how important the tourism industry is here. Nearly 29 million folks showing up to our part of the world to take a look around last year. Part of our job is to keep them safe. So I'm wondering, in light of recent comments made by another elected state official, how far you would go to keep them safe. The comment made, the idea thrown out was aggressive frisking, forced pat-downs in places like the French Quarter in New Orleans. If you look at that, how does that look in the eyes of a tourist walking through the quarter and that happens to you? How far would you take security? What needs to be done? Is something like that needed?
John?
It's a great question. Certainly we do have to address crime because if we can't make our citizens and our tourists safe, they're not going to come live, work, visit or invest in our communities. I think what we have to do, and I want to spread tourism that throughout the entire state, but New Orleans is the magnet. We need to get more police presence on the street in the French Quarter, otherwise we're going to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. And I think what we need to do is probably form a new state troop, especially trained to be in New Orleans. New Orleans will pay for it with the tourism dollars, but we need to make sure there's police presence on the street so that our visitors feel safe. Otherwise, they're going to stop coming, and if they stop coming to New Orleans, then we're not going to be able to spread the tourism dollar throughout the rest of the state. Because as your Lieutenant Governor, I want to make sure that we spread tourism dollars throughout every corner of the state, that every parish and every community gets their fair share. But crime is an issue, and if we don't reduce crime and we don't protect our citizens and our visitors, we're going to kill the goose that laid the golden egg.
Thank you. Yep.
Basically, again, going back to those dollars that were cut, that would be a priority when I'm the Lieutenant Governor, because we already have a number of things in place. We may have to add some other people in some areas, but primarily we have a formula that's been in place. Yes, there's been crime increases, but we'll have people even in plain clothes walk through those areas that will be able to identify if something is going wrong, and then be a former law enforcement people and let them take the action they need to take, and also let the state police know and the local government know exactly that we may be giving them a call if something is out of hand. You have everything in place, but just to talk about it is one thing. Doing it is what really counts, and we will always be concerned about your safety and your family's safety and enjoyment of those different parks that we have in Louisiana. Thank you.
I'm an Opelousas Police Department Reserve Sergeant, and so I'm still doing this, and I've been doing it for about 23, 24 years. It's important that we maintain balance in law enforcement, and when balance goes away, respect goes away. We've seen some of that. It's important that we maintain balance and respect for everyone's rights. Having said that, coordination between law enforcement agencies is important. The presence of law enforcement agencies is very important throughout Louisiana, especially in Louisiana's heavy crime areas, to protect the people who live there and the people who come to visit there. And consequences, the last thing. People who violate laws must face some consequences. Coordination, presence, consequences.
Thank you. Now, I want to remind the, oh, Billy, I'm sorry, go ahead. It's Billy's turn.
How could you forget me? We have a great, Mike Evans is a great state police director. We've got great sheriffs all over the state. I'm not going to do their job. I'm going to support them in efforts. But let me tell you something. We need to talk about the crime problem, especially in New Orleans. You know, we've got people getting arrested 2 and 3 dozen times with a gun, and they're back on the street selling more dope. Let's talk about the lawyers and the judges that are letting them out. It's the same 20%. But I'm very proud to have received the endorsement of Louisiana Sheriff's Association yesterday for Lieutenant Governor, and I will work with law enforcement, the state police, and support them in all our efforts to keep our state safe. Thank you.
I apologize to you, Billy. I was so anxious to remind both panels, please address your questions outward into the audience, and also that way you keep it back. All right. Next question comes from Jim Inkster, and we have 30-second responses.
What is your position regarding either preservation or removal of monuments in New Orleans?
Kip?
Well, no position in New Orleans because I have nothing to do with their government. But preservation of things that we have in Baton Rouge and in other areas that does not have what is now perceived as racial overtones to it, but start talking to people and have them have conversations instead of going out and first you take action that could flare a situation up. I believe in talking to people, trying to work it out, and then we move forward as a team because we all live in the same community. Thank you.
Thank you. Albert?
We cannot tear pages out of history books and burn them. There are people who want to come, who come from far away, and they want to come to Louisiana to see some of the monuments. So from a tourism standpoint, we can't shoot ourselves in the foot by tearing down monuments that people want to visit. And we need to, as a people, get past petty divisions and old hands dealing with the serious problems that exist for all of us. One of them being finances.
I'm absolutely against taking down those monuments. We've got people come from all over the world, tourists take pictures in front of those monuments. It's a part of our history. Where do we stop? We've got to quit letting tragedy dictate quick response, off-the-cuff reactions to destroying our culture and our history. I'm absolutely 100% against it. Thank you.
John?
I am also against the destruction of the monuments or removal of the monuments. It's part of our culture and history. However, I do think we need to have an adult conversation, a serious conversation about race in our community and our state. But I don't think removing the monuments is going to solve the problem. What's going to solve the problem is educational opportunities for everyone. What's going to solve the problem is economic opportunities for everyone, and everyone respecting each other from their background. But these monuments are part of our history, part of our culture, part of what makes us unique. And remember, if you forget about history, you're destined to repeat it.
Thank you. Now, we're going to the exciting part of the forum. We're going to have candidate on candidate questions. The first one will be Albert Gilroy to Billy Nungesser with a 1-minute response.
Billy, I served in the Navy in 1964 and 1968. When we came back, there were no thanks, there was no appreciation. Many of the World War II, Vietnam, and even from Afghanistan, the veterans have health problems that are not addressed by the national government. As a leader in Louisiana, what would you do for us veterans?
Well, thank you. I support all the veterans groups. I've done things for every veterans group across the state. You know, I've even thought about talking to the legislative and talked about around the state of creating a dollar scratch-off where all the money goes to the veterans. I don't buy scratch-offs because the money goes in a black hole. But if I knew that money was going to help our veterans, I'd buy one every time I got gas. We've absolutely got to make sure we take care of our veterans, our seniors, and our special needs children. They're falling down through the cracks, and those are 3 groups that are desperately needing our help. And we are giving people in Louisiana if we know our money's being spent properly. Thank you.
Okay, Albert, you have a 30-second rebuttal. For what you just said.
Well,
I like what he said. It is important that we address the issue of veterans. I'm pleased to see his commitment to do so, and I join him with that.
Okay, now for Billy, you asked a question of John Young. And John, you get a 30-second rebuttal. Okay, Billy, for John Young.
Mr. Young, recently, the other day in the paper, there was an article that the auditor in Jefferson Parish had accused your administration of misspending BP money that was intended for the coastal communities. And my question is that money going to be given back or spent where it was supposed to spend, or what's your response to how that money was spent?
The money was properly spent. The legislative auditor approved it. The state lieutenant governor's office approved it. It was approved by BP. One of the issues in the article was the coastal aid program, which we changed. Everything was approved by the council. Obviously, we wanted to make sure that the fisheries were protected, but we couldn't spend the money directly in Lafitte and Grand Isle because we were required to make sure it drove tourism, so we had to do it in areas where the restaurants would serve the seafood and people could stay in the hotels. And again, we were noted by the Lieutenant Governor's Office and BP as a model parish for the state and for that program. Everything was approved by the legislative auditor. Everything was approved by the Lieutenant Governor's Office and BP.
Billy, you're rebuttal.
I just, the auditor, it's in the audit, what the money was spent for. It was supposed to be for the coastal community.
You didn't hold it. Wait your mouth. Okay. John Young, Kip Holden, 1 minute response.
Kip, what is your favorite state park and why is it your favorite state park?
Audubon. You know, I've had the fortunate time of working at WWL in New Orleans, born in New Orleans Charity Hospital, and working for the Census Bureau in 1980. Audubon is quite fascinating. And I've also handled legislation on behalf of Audubon, myself and the late John Hankel, to help improve that great community. And so that is my favorite. But of course, being in Baton Rouge, I got some favorite parks here too, or else I'll be barred from any recreational sites. Thank you.
Okay, John, you were going.
I like all of them, and I've been to all of them. I've actually visited every state park. We have 22 state parks, and I've enjoyed visiting every one of them. Everyone has a unique aspect to it, and I think we have a great number of state parks in our state. We need to maintain them. Unfortunately, because of budget crisis, the repair and maintenance funds have been wiped clean to balance the budget. We need to work with the next legislature and governor to make sure they're properly funded, work with the communities, because they're economic engines for the communities they're located in. They increase economic activity in those communities.
Thank you. All right. Kip, a question for Albert Gilroy.
Mr. Guillory, can you tell me what you would do about promoting Louisiana internationally?
Yes, during the last Chinese New Year, I went to Hong Kong to study how they marketed the Chinese New Year. And it was very successful. They marketed it internationally. It was an extremely successful event, using those techniques that I've learned and traveled, because I've traveled literally all over the world except to Antarctica. And I don't plan to go there soon. But I am able to speak several languages and relate to many different people in different nations because of that ability and because of my ability to study that. I believe that we can market Louisiana internationally, and I have the passion and love for Louisiana to do it.
Okay, Kim, here we go.
Well, you know, the Chinese had to end up marketing themselves. Basically, we have established a lot of places here internationally, EA, IBM, and right now in St. James Parish, that big facility there. I'm also helping the parish president there, and you will see hundreds of jobs created. We go across the whole spectrum to bring and let people know about the wonderful things we have in Louisiana, the workers, and everybody that you need to fill the blanks that you may have, and that will continue to a really worldwide thing.
Now, Jeremy also, another question for a 1-minute response, starting with Kip Owen.
Gentlemen, there are 7 states that do not have a lieutenant governor. There are another 2 states that allow the Senate president to serve as lieutenant governor, which I'm sure probably sounds like a good idea to John Alario. There have been candidates that have run in the past who campaigned on eliminating the position of lieutenant governor. Meanwhile, lieutenant governors serving in office have tried to expand their roles, maybe take on economic development. Why should lieutenant governor be an elected position? Should it be an elected position? And as lieutenant governor, will you try to expand your role beyond tourism, marketing, and museums?
Of course, expanding the role, the answer is yes. Because again, I'm not going to do a one-size-fit-all office. What I'll come and ask you is give me your strengths, your weaknesses, and your priorities. Then sitting down with the mayors of those areas, then begin to adopt the plans that's specific to that community and work on those. Same thing in promotion. Then also, the lieutenant governor, seafood industry, seafood board, and wildlife and fisheries, yeah, he goes out a little bit on that as well. But the big thing is also retirees. You going out now to let people know you spend a lot of time doing work. But you know, we want you to come to a place that's very unique in the nation, and it's proven, and some of the greatest food in the world, unless the doctor is restricted. But the bottom line is simply this: I believe the lieutenant governor's office cannot do everything by itself. You got the museums, you got a whole lot of other things there, and so we'll be doing them all.
Elvin?
I believe that the lieutenant governor's position in Louisiana is an important position. Number one, you are the number 2 in Louisiana, and so you should be prepared to step into, heaven forbid, into the governor's shoes should something happen. And while the governor is out of the state of Louisiana, the lieutenant governor is in charge, so says the Constitution. Now, from a tourism perspective, people don't want to come to a place that's not prosperous. So we have to have good education, we have to have good employment, and we have to have safety. As lieutenant governor, I would use that bully pulpit to make sure that we accomplish those things. My success in the Louisiana legislature, I'm just leaving there, so I'm still close to all of the senators and representatives that are there. I can work closely with them to get things done.
Thank you.
You saw me on TV nightly taking the administration in Washington, the president's task on the oil spill. I will get involved in absolutely everything to make a difference. I want to be involved in the coastal plan. I want to be involved in creating jobs. 25,000 people from every parish in this state comes to work in Plaquemines Parish. We have created an economic engine. You won't say that in 4 years when I'm lieutenant governor. I will get involved in everything physically possible. I will help open therapeutic riding facilities like me and my wife did in Plaquemines to take needy children out of their wheelchairs on the back of horses around the state. The greatest thing I've ever done on my charitable side. We will do everything physically possible for our seniors, our vets, our special needs. You'll never hear me say, no, that's not my job, or I don't have to do that to get reelected. And I got tired of hearing that from elected officials. I will go to work, and you won't say that in 4 years. Thank you.
John.
I think the lieutenant governor's office is a very important office, sometimes misunderstood by the public, but certainly you have to keep your eye on the main thing, culture, recreation, and tourism. Main Street program, which also returns 1 to 28, and then retirement. The lieutenant governor's chairman of the Retirement Development Commission. Let's not forget that, because we are looking at probably the wealthiest class of retirees in the history of the United States with the baby boomers. I'd like to see the lieutenant governor's office do more economic development. There's tourism, leveraged economic development. I'd like to see the lieutenant governor be more involved in the film industry. I wrote an op-ed early on in the session promoting the film industry, but also making sure there's accountability and transparency and we get our bang for our buck. But again, at the end of the day, that depends on the governor and the legislature. Also, the lieutenant governor serves ex officio on every board and commissioner. The governor does. So I will continue to be involved in coastal protection and restoration. I sit on the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority. But the lieutenant governor, by means of his or her membership on those committees, can take different approaches and different focuses. But again, let's not forget, $11.2 billion industry, $836 million from tourism. We got to keep our eye on the ball.
Matt Williams has a rapid fire round, starting with Albert Gilly.
I'm curious, gentlemen, all of you, your thoughts on race possibly being brought into the lieutenant governor's race. It's not something created or manifested by media or the public. This actually happened. The N-word being used in a campaign ad for lieutenant governor. And I'm wondering, is that appropriate? Is it appropriate for some? Is it appropriate for none? How far would you go in your campaigning? And does that do damage to race relationships here in Louisiana?
15 seconds.
Race relations in Louisiana need to be addressed, and we should have a serious conversation about race, get past it so that we can all be Americans once again, united, one nation, under God. This race business is a bunch of humbug.
Billy?
It wasn't my commercial, let me say that. I haven't started mine yet. We've all got to work together. We've got to pull in the same direction. You got to have love and passion for everybody and help everybody in this state. And if we do that, and we have that love and passion to help other people, we can do anything. Thank you.
John? 15
Look,
seconds.
I think we need to get past race, but we certainly have to have a serious discussion. We do have problems. We've made a lot of progress. Look, if Martin Luther King came back today, I think you'd be impressed that we have our first African-American president of the United States that was not only elected, but re-elected. Again, we've come a long way. We got a long way to go.
When those comments were made, I was appalled. We stand up and we don't want nobody to call us niggers, and yet you have a candidate in this race who called black people niggers. And that's really a shame. We should respect each other.
Tim Easter has a question, starting with Hillary, and a 1-minute response.
Considering that